Hello, wonderful people. Thank you for joining us. Wherever you are, depending on your time, your location, we welcome you into this wonderful podcast live in Blessed Be World News and Entertainment. Remember that we are into March FM here in Jamaica, Gilmore Road, and we welcome you all. Welcome and thank you for joining us. Today we will be discussing about a great and wonderful topic, JamNija. Is your host, Caleb Chidozie Obonna. Welcome and thank you once again. I welcome you all to this wonderful episode of JamNija. Right here is your host, Caleb Obonna, reporting live from March FM. Right here beside me is Miss Durberry. Mrs. Durberry, welcome to this wonderful episode.
Thank you for having me.
Like, pronounce your name very well correctly? Mrs. Durberry. You're welcome. Well, let's dive into the matter as it had been on this talk show, of course, titled JamNija Talk Show, and reporting live in the wonderful studio, Marge FM. Today podcast introduction has to center on Jamaican culture and norms. And before we dive into it and how it relates to other part of Nigeria, using Nigeria as a case study, other part of Africa, I want to ask you, where are you from?
Right here, so in a jam down. Right here, so in a Jamaica.
You're welcome. So I want to ask you before we call on people, our friends and our viewers, of course, our friends outside Jamaica. Could you please tell us what do you understand? What comes to your mind when you hear the word JamNija, the podcast being the first episode of today?
Hmm. Well, as a foodie, as a long belly girl, as somebody with love for a belly, I stop at jam and I'm thinking of the bread that I will put it on, and I'm thinking of other the biscuits and whatnot. But let me take myself out of that space as we're on Jamaica radio. And jam definitely always speaks to jam down. It speaks to it's like a shortened version of our sweet, beautiful island's name, Jamaica. Niger, on the other hand, is usually the term that we use to reference to our African brothers and sisters who so happen to be from the beautiful country called Nigeria.
Mhm.
So Jam Niger sounds like coming together between both worlds, and it sounds like a bridge for both nations to walk on.
All right, my people, welcome, and we'll be taking it up from here. Of course, we'll be giving you another vibe that you have never heard before. Coming up is truly today's being 16th of January 2025, of course, being Thursday, and we all want to officially welcome you and to tell you to join us every Thursday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. on Jam Niger for uh, Jamaica, where we explore Jamaican customs, norms, and tradition through a Nigerian lens. Dive into authentic and passionate conversation as we explain cultural norms and in terms of relationship, religion, food, and other aspects of lifestyle. Show and we also show offers a rich comparison between Jamaica and Nigeria, that is Africa. So join us today. Today has been so wonderful, and people, our friends in Nigeria and another part of the country are listening. Ada, could you please tell us what do you have to tell your friends out there about this wonderful episode of JamNija? Today happened to be the first episode so far. So what's your advice for them?
Sit back, grab a cup of nice Mountain Peak coffee, or if you were more of a tea fan, grab a nice draw bush tea, preferably Cersei. Listen, tune in. Just
Okay.
sit back and relax. Sit back
Mm-hmm.
and listen to the cultures come together.
All right. The question has been: is there any relationship you can draw that exists between Africa and that of Jamaica, based on your own knowledge?
Okay, based on what I have experienced and what I've seen happen between our nations,
Mhm.
the first relationship would definitely stem from the transatlantic slave trade that took place donkey years ago. So it would have happened that the Europeans would have enslaved many African nations, including Nigerians, and they would have brought them across, the Atlantic Ocean as well as the Caribbean Sea, and they would have so happened to stop off and sell some of these slaves in Jamaica as well as other Caribbean islands and neighboring countries like United States. Anywho, that's the first leg of the relationship. So ancestrally, there are many Jamaicans never ever been on a plane, much less to talk about visiting Nigeria.
Hmm.
But if you were supposed to do one of them fancy 23andMe tests, their ancestry DNA would probably be some 50 odd percent Nigerian or some,
You sure?
so that is just what I believe would be the first leg of relationship.
Hmm.
And that would have also influenced stuff like cooking. That would
Mhm.
have influenced stuff like spiritualism. There are a lot of um, religions that I would have learned about in primary school that would have been influenced. A lot of spiritualism that would have been influenced by Nigerian culture by virtue of the fact that slaves came
Mhm.
here.
That's
Another leg. You want to go ahead?
well. Continue. Just finish up. Wrap it up. And
Okay. And then we can talk about the famous Miss World pageant where in 2020 our beautiful Tony and Singh won, and she wasn't as excited as our Nigerian counterpart. That I watched that girl run on that stage like she was the one that won. So
hmm.
there's some there's some relation there, man. There's a genuine heartfelt love between both of our cultures.
So you're saying we have something in common, that of Jamaica?
We have a lot in common with Jamaica.
All right.
Well,
For,
you guys have a lot in common
for
with
me to
us.
believe, can we put call across from someone who reside in Nigeria who was deep throw more light on this, and
Okay,
let's see if we are of the same page.
that's a problem.
All right, my people, just stay tuned as we call on barrister Uche Bright, who is a barrister in Nigeria. Of course, we want to hear the current situation and things happening right in Nigeria. Reporting live on March FM. Please don't touch that dial. Continue to join us, continue to follow our YouTube channel, continue to also listen to this wonderful episode of Jam Niger. It's a great topic. Do you know that?
You tell me?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, we want to hear from you at the comment section. What is your take on this matter, on this wonderful episode, being the first time or the first episode so far on this wonderful topic and podcast, Jam Niger. All right, just stay tuned as we reach out to our loved ones, our friends outside Jamaica. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to Maj FM, Jamaica.
Thank you.
Am I on to
Thank you. Good to join you guys.
Barrister Uche Bright for the
Yes.
people?
My name is Ushe. Yes.
Welcome joining us for this wonderful program.
Thank you, and good to be with you guys.
This I forget I'm here with also my colleague, Mrs.
Greetings.
Doberry. Please say hi to your friend over there in Africa.
Hello, Mr. Bright. How are you doing?
Hello. I'm doing good. I hope you're good.
I'm good, man. I'm good. So, welcome to, welcome from the beautiful island of Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
As was introduced to you before, I'm Mrs. Strawberry. Tell us today, when you hear the phrase JamNija, what comes to your mind?
The only thing that comes to my mind is Bob Marley.
Bob Marley.
Yes, that's the only thing that comes to my mind. Bob Marley, reggae, and a place of tourism. Those are the three things, the three symbolism. Yes.
Okay.
Bob Marley, reggae, and the place of tourism. So tourism don't happen over there in Nigeria?
It does, but Jamaica is a place that most people like going for vacations.
Okay.
For example, we that are in Africa, you see some of our elites always going to places like, and immediately they are going to Caribbean.
Okay.
Their choice destination is either Barbados or Jamaica.
Awesome, awesome,
Hmm.
awesome. I love to hear stuff like this, because I love when people give me a reason to big up Jamaica.
and I learned that Jamaicans are quite accommodating.
Well. It
But
depends.
how true is that?
How true is that?
Because I'm in Jamaica now, I'm the one to say if what he said is well confirmed, and that will come from me. So he had that Jamaican, they are quite accommodating.
All right. So, based on his statement, what would you say your experience has been here in Jamaica?
Finish up before I answer the question because
Okay. All right. It depends on really and truly it depends on upbringing. It depends on the area that they're from. You have some persons who are more nice and friendly than others. I would say Jamaica is a very friendly country. You can
Mhm.
go anywhere and you can say, "Oh, I'm new to the islands. Can you help me?" And there will always be somebody there willing to accommodate you, willing to run around and show you something, but know that that accommodation will sometimes come with a cost and sometimes it won't. But depending on who you ask, you might have to give them a drink or give them a little small change. But really and truly, Jamaica is one of the friendliest countries on this entire planet, and I can say that with my whole chest. So yeah.
Is that not an exaggeration? I think you're exaggerating a bit, but that's okay. That's okay. It just shows that you love your country so much, and it's understandable and quite welcome. I mean, everybody should. Everybody should. One should always love his country and always show that spirit of patriotism. For
That's
me,
right.
it is either Nigeria or nowhere else.
And I love that. I love that. You should love the place that you are born and bred from.
Yes, yes. Despite the inadequacies, after all, no one is perfect.
Exactly. Anywhere you go, there is problem.
Um, yes, yes. There are issues everywhere. It's just your ability to see the good side of wherever you are and then do your best to ensure that you create a good society and make the world a beautiful place for everyone.
that's
Amen.
right. That's
Amen
right.
to that.
All right, my people, we are into the matter, of course, trying to relate and to see the similarities between this wonderful culture. Of course, reporting live in March FM. I want to throw this question. Please, Mr. Bright, I want to ask you, when last did you eat, what's the name? Suya. You know what is suya?
Yes, I know what is suya.
Please educate us because our friends here in Jamaica, they want to know. I know they like to explore to other dishes and uh, we want to find out the similarities and what is there in Nigeria and what is here in Jamaica. So can you please
All
explain
right,
to us?
but before I go on, please can you, because you are talking to people with diverse culture.
Okay.
Nigerians may understand what soya is, but I doubt if Jamaicans will understand what soya means.
Oh, trust me, me
So,
neither.
I want to throw her off balance, but let me tell you
You're
what here
confused.
here in Jamaica there's something that we call jack pork. Is it chicken pork or something like that?
mhm.
Hmm?
Is it chicken pork?
Jerk pork?
Yes, it's the same as that of suya. So can you tell us more about it?
only that the source of the meat varies. For example, in Nigeria, in doing suya or in preparing suya, it's just a grilled meat or a smoked meat in a special way.
Mhm.
Most times in Nigeria, Nigerians use either beef or chicken for it.
There's something like that here,
They
right?
use beef, yes, and we use chicken to prepare it. It's usually quite delicious, and it's a common thing in Nigeria. Mostly eaten in the evening, uh, with a glass of juice or whatever you want to combine with it. Some will prefer drinking beer while eating the meat. So, like you said earlier, perhaps in Jamaica they prefer using pork or another type of meat to prepare theirs. But I think the method is still the same. I've watched it on a YouTube where I saw some Jamaicans grilling something that looks like suya. But when I looked closely, I found out that the meat that they used in doing that was not beef, but I think they used more of pork and chicken.
That's
But
right.
Nigeria is sharply divided into two. We have the southern part and the northern part. The northern part of Nigeria are mostly Muslims. I know that Muslims they do not eat pork. So in the north, you will not see them do suya with pork. They prefer using chicken or beef to prepare their own suya meat. That's it. I don't know if I've been able to do justice to the question that you asked.
Yes, yes, you did.
I was just here wrapped up into the accent of my dear brother that I forgot the question. Could you remind me?
We're talking about food. I
Okay.
talk about the jack chicken or jackpot.
I'm more familiar with jerk chicken. Just like your northern brothers in Nigeria, I am a Sabbath keeping Jamaican, so usually we don't eat pork as well. We have a sabbatical diet, which is similar to that of the Jews. So we have that in common there. What you guys call suya, we refer to as jerk chicken. Here in Jamaica, there's a special blend that we have that we use. Pimento can't live without it. Brown sugar is a must. Scotch bonnet pepper is a must. Okay, along with our other green herbs and spices.
Mm,
Traditionally, Jamaicans would chop down the pimento wood and you dig a fire pit, and that is what we would jerk our meat on top of. This was a cooking style brought to us by the Maroons, which were, originally African slaves who were, they took matters into their own hands. They escaped the brutality of the Brits, and they had their own community. To this day, we have a town called Maroon Town, which preserves a lot of these traditional cooking methods, a lot of the traditional wear. You'll find old time pots and pans that were used to do different types of things. They're the people who preserve aside from the Rastafarians, they're the people who will preserve the practice of using calabash as pots and plates and whatnot. So, having heard about your suya, I would say suya in Nigeria and jerk chicken in a Jamaica.
All the same.
Yes.
Maybe just a variation in the spices that are used, but it
Yes,
seems like a similar cooking method.
I understand. I understand. There is a background that I want to lay. I want to lay a background on something. When we talk about Africa, most people think that Africa is just one country. Some people interchange Africa to mean a country without
Mm.
knowing that Africa comprises of not less than 50 different countries.
That is
That's
true.
For example, when you talk of the Caribbean, I know that we have Jamaica, we have Barbados, we have Guyana, and some other countries over there. So most times, Africans feel a bit disturbed, if I may use that word, because I'm trying to, choose my words very carefully.
that's right.
Africans are usually disturbed, or take exception to when Africa as a whole or the countries in Africa are described collectively as Africa without singularizing them. For example, what we call suya is quite obtainable here in Nigeria,
Mm.
is a sort of a delicacy that are popularized by Nigerians. You could go to other countries in Africa, like South Africa, um, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Zambia, and rest of them. You may find that they do not also know what is suya,
Mm.
Okay.
or if they know it, their method of preparing it will be quite different from the way it is prepared in Nigeria. And even in this Nigeria that we are, the people that specialize in preparing suya are northern Nigerians,
That's
the
right.
north.
Okay.
Most people from the south do not indigenously prepare suya. If you see any location where they are doing suya in the south, in most cases, the person who is preparing it, or the chef, is usually from the north. So it is a meal that has been popularized by northerners. That is the people from the northern part of Nigeria. So that is just that.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being part. And of course, what you said is very, very impressive. And of course, let us wrap it up here. Strawberry, what do you have to say about? Do you have any question to Mr. Bright?
Thus far, no questions. But the
Okay.
only the only thing that came to my mind when he was saying the misconception that Africa is one country and Nigeria is apart, when it's actually comprised of 50 odd countries, the Caribbean has a similar issue in terms of whenever people say they're from the Caribbean, the
Mhm.
first country that anybody asks them is, "Oh, you're Jamaican," and then
Yes.
Trinidadians get offended, you know. They get so offended. Bahamians get in their feelings. Bajans be ready to throw pot covers in your head because, yeah, everybody, once you're from the Caribbean, the first country that's on the tip of people's tongues is Jamaica, which speaks to the
Yes.
impact that we've made on the world. But for the listeners, yard and abroad, I want you to know Africa is a continent, not a country,
Mhm.
and Jamaica is not the
Yes,
entire Caribbean.
yes.
It's because of the
But the only good thing
popularity.
about Nigeria, but the only good thing about Nigeria and its place in Africa is that Nigerians are naturally loud. Nigerians are quite domineering.
Just like
So
Mm.
most
Jamaicans.
times you can't wish them away. Wherever you see them, you must know that they are Nigerians. They don't lie low.
Yeah, the same energy
They are
Jamaicans
quite
have.
loud. So that's a good thing about Nigeria.
I must tell you, I have been to those two different countries. It is same energy that Jamaicans have.
You can go into a random town in Jamaica and think, wait, I left Nigeria. Why am I still here?
Like the first time I met a Jamaican in Nigeria, that was in the Jamaican embassy. Something played out. I can be quite generous. I like giving tips when I enter a particular place.
Mhm.
So when I went in there, I gave tips to the security man. And then when I got to the embassy, I saw an interesting article there. I was just busy reading and smiling. I never knew that the consulate, the guy that ought to attend to me, was already there waiting for me. And then he looked at me. He said, "You've been here and you've been keeping me waiting." I told him, "But you never told me that you're here. I was the one that got here first. You ought to have called my attention." So from there, we started speaking. So I spoke to him with our local English. Not really an English that everyone understands. If you're not a Nigerian, you hardly understand. So he
Pidgin.
told me he didn't understand what I was trying to say, that he was not good with it. I said, why won't you be good with it when you are a Nigerian? That's quite shameful. That was when he drew my attention that he was not a Nigerian, that he's a Jamaican. I jokingly told him that there is no difference between you and Nigerians. You look more of Nigerians than Jamaicans.
Jesus is
So from there,
Lord.
we started having an interesting conversation. Because when you look at his skin, when you look at how well shaved he was and everything, even his dressing, he looked
Mhm.
more of like a Nigerian that was just working in the embassy.
That's interesting.
so from there, so from there, we had an interesting conversation,
Okay.
and that was it. So in terms of if you don't look closely, I doubt if there will be any difference between Jamaicans and Nigerians. It's just issue of environment and cultural differences. Perhaps those are the only differences that could exist.
And you know what's so funny? There are many Jamaicans who will tell you, no, man, Jamaican to the bone. There
Can
is
you,
no,
can you say that again as well?
me is a Jamaican to the bone. Yeah, Jamaican to the bone. So it's just a phrase to me. Like there are some people who are diehard Jamaicans. We all love our cultures, but whenever you say Jamaica is like some people, they lose their heads, they lose their cool. They feel like if you're comparing Jamaica to any other nation, that you're insulting us because Jamaica is an island that is just there. It has its own hall of fame. You shouldn't be comparing us, except during Olympics time when we usually would be, you know, toppers and gold medalists. Except for that time, that's the only time Jamaicans I really see Jamaicans appreciate, comparison. But anything that you're saying Jamaica is similar to, you need to also say Jamaica is better than.
I tell you.
It's the deep patriotism that is embedded in our hearts, our minds, our spirits. As I said, Jamaican to the bone. So while we can, who are more learned people, can really and truly appreciate the similarities between both cultures, you will find that even Nigerians have this desire to say that you can never compare anywhere else to Nigeria. They will get offended as well, similarly to how some persons in Jamaica will get offended if you compare it to other nations.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I agree with you. I agree with you. But I also know that there could be other differences, you know.
In terms of music.
Maybe because I've not visited Jamaica before, I know there will be some differences.
Wise.
There will be a whole lot of difference.
Well, yeah, I've observed. I've never been to Nigeria. I've never been to Nigeria. However, whenever I've spoken with Nigerians, interacted with them, whatever I view on social media, I realize that the way in which we approach each other in conversation is different. For example, a Jamaican will meet you today, and by evening time, I'm a brother in that. But a Nigerian will meet you today and meet you next week, and then meet you like 3 months time, and they're like, this is a stranger.
But
Nigerians are not as accommodating when it comes to social circles. I noticed that Jamaicans, we will welcome everybody, but Nigerians are like a subsect of culture here in Jamaica. I observed that the Nigerians stick together. The Jamaicans will welcome anybody can come into the camp. Anybody can eat out of this pot. The Nigerians are more to themselves. They're more reserved than Jamaicans. So that's one of the differences I've seen.
Yeah, yeah, but there's something I want to add. There's something I want to add.
Okay.
How accommodating Nigerians are depends on a number of factors.
Okay.
One of the factors is issue of religion.
Okay.
Nigeria is a country where you have 50%, majorly 50% of Nigerians are assumed to be Christians, while the other 50% are assumed to be Muslims. The other African traditional worshippers seem like some sort of a minority. Most times they are not talked about. Now, how accommodating Nigerians are depends on the person they are speaking with. If you're from the same town or if you're from the same tribe with them, and then they recognize that you're from the same tribe with them, and then that recognize that you speak the same dialect with them, different from the generally accepted language, which is English, they become more relaxed with you. For example, my own ethnic group is Igbo. Most times, if I come to Jamaica, for example, and I see someone who is from Nigeria, and then the person speaks Igbo, or even when we are in Nigeria, and then I realize that where I am, I see somebody who speaks Igbo, and then who speaks the dialect of my community, my own part of Igbo, you see that immediately that attraction comes up. I think another cause of this behavior is because of the large population that we have in Nigeria. Nigeria has more than 2 million population. So, and that is when you begin to see some of these, segmentation, where people lean towards their community, people lean towards their, tribe or ethnicity, and all of that. And the issue of being careful in order not to do something that is against the law. That's one thing about Nigerians. They want to know who you are first. I think it's equally cultural. It has some issue of, it has some cultural element in it. They'll need to know who you are, whether you're of good conduct, whether you're from a good place, whether you have a good reputation, whether you're not susceptible to crime or you're not susceptible to put them into doing something that makes them become an accomplice when the issues come up. Once all these things are established, most times they become relaxed around you.
That's right.
That's generally the way we behave. For example, Caleb is not from my community. I am not from the same state with Caleb, but we speak the same language. We are of the same ethnic group. We are from the same region. Now, Caleb has become like a brother to me, and the family, I know all his family members because over time we've been able to establish that bond. I've been able to establish that he comes from a family that has a good reputation, and then a family that are culturally grounded. So you see, I become quite relaxed around him. For example, this call that we are making right now, it's not because he's the one who got me to get involved. I may have given him a reason that I just came back from work about 2 hours ago that I am tired. But you see, so I don't know what to call it or how to describe it, but I think Nigerians are trying. Aside the issue of religious differences, Nigerians are trying.
All right, Barrister, thank you very much. Thank you for your contribution, and we sincerely appreciate you. And we say thank you once again.
You're welcome, and I'm learning a lot as well.
Thank you so much for elaborating on a bit of your culture. I was just sitting here and listening carefully, keenly to make sure I absorb the information because really and truly, these are things that have had me pensive, especially in my interactions with Nigerians. Trying to understand how to navigate that space because really and truly, history, is something that we have in common. But I realize the more and more that we interact, that there's so many differences where sometimes, one culture is thinking that they're just preserving their space and the other is thinking that the other culture is being rude. So, um, you mentioned the fact that Nigerians have a tendency to examine the people um background wise, religious wise, making sure that there's no trouble there in order to make a decision as to whether or not this friendship or this relationship would be viable or valid for long term. Jamaicans, I would say, don't, not all Jamaicans, but majority of the Jamaicans I know don't do that. You meet somebody today, you give them the benefit of the doubt until they mess up. That has been something I've observed within my own culture, that anywhere you are from, it doesn't matter, as long as you like our country, we like you. So
Yes,
if you
yes.
are Muslim, as long as you are not going to be disrespectful, as long as you wouldn't try to put, because majority of Jamaicans are Christians, right? Jamaica is known to be a Christian nation.
Yeah.
We do have Muslims here. We do have
Rastafarian.
Rastafarianism is the other, I would say, larger chunk of when it comes to religion. I would say Jamaica is divided about 20% Rastafarianism. This is just my this isn't backed by data. This is just my estimate based on my experience of meeting people on the daily run-ins, right? I would say 70% of the Jamaicans I've met in my entire lifetime as a Jamaican would say that they are Christians. Whether or not they go to church, none of my business, but a lot, 70% or higher, would identify with Christianity. And then another 20% there but would identify with Rastafarianism. So it doesn't matter which religion you're from, which country you're from, which part of Jamaica you're from, just as long as you are not known to be selling anybody's kidneys or trying to be disrespectful to anybody's mom, you will be welcomed. We don't have that division in our country. Anywhere you are, you
Yes.
could be standing in the bank line, right? And you just say, "Why the sun hotty?" And a Jamaican in front of you is not going to be examining your background. They're not thinking about, Lord of mercy, I wonder if I talk to this lady, if somebody can shoot me down. They're going to be thinking, the sun hot, man. We're both sharing this experience of the sun being hot. And then two twos, you walk away with a new friend because by the time you move up in the line at the bank, you have already gone through the process of, that having that conversation, recognizes this person has a vibe about them that I like. You understand? Jamaicans work off of vibes. We don't work off of ethnicity and background. We figure that out later. Okay, we work off of vibes. Okay.
Yes.
And they have this
Like
kind
I
of
said
thing.
initially, I doubt. What was the? Please, can you remind me the population of Jamaica again, please?
Jamaica is approximately
3 million.
3.9 million.
Okay, 3.9 million. Nigeria has about 37 states. That is 36 states, including the Federal Capital Territory, making it about 37, loosely speaking. And each of these states, there is none of these states that you have less than 3 million population. I think because of how populated Nigeria is, and Nigeria is a place that something can happen in a particular location, and it takes forever for you to trace that particular person if that person relocates to another direction. Like I said, when you have a large house, there are there are issues that naturally crop up because of it. One of, for example, you know of China. Despite how advanced China is currently, because of their large population, most people still attempt to describe China as a developing nation. And there are still a lot of tales that come from China simply because of that issue of population. I think that's just basically the issue that Nigeria has. Because if you go to some of these other places that are less populated, where they know themselves, where they know each other, you see, they still live in a communal manner. They welcome everyone. They know when you are in their town. They know what you're doing. They know when you're doing what you ought not to do and all of that. But I give it to Jamaicans anyway. I give it to Jamaicans from what you've explained so far and what I've heard. I give it to them. I give it to them.
All right,
They have been able to conquer that religious difference.
That's correct.
But then, in terms of the educational system, how is the educational system in Jamaica?
I would say that in as much as we would love to complain. I would say Jamaica's education system is not where we want it to be, but it is amazing in terms of I've observed there currently we have our Minister of Education, Favor Williams, right? I've observed that there are changes that they are making to the system. For instance, the transfer from GSAT to PEP within the last few years. This has been proven to be great in terms of you're getting a more detailed analysis as to how a child is doing because GSAT on one hand, this is it stood for a grade 6 um, assessment test where you'd be assessed before you go on to the high school system. GSAT was done in a way where you're quiz on 4 subjects, right? And it's based on your grades that you are placed in a high school. And Jamaicans have a thing where they love to say this school is the brilliant school and this school is for the failures. And the GSAT system would have saw students who could have been the GSAT system would have seen students who would have been brilliant students, but they learn in a different way. Testing 1 2. We're live on Merge FM. Are you hearing me, Mr. Bright?
The Bryce has gone.
It look like we lose him.
Yes, yes, I can
Oh,
hear you.
he
So I got
is back.
interrupted by a local call.
Not a problem. Understood. As I was saying, right, our grade 6 assessment test was originally the final exam that a student would do before they leave primary school to go on to a high school. Before they would be placed in a high school, the placement is based on grades, right? So if let's
Yes,
say during my time of doing GSAT, Glenmere High School was the top school. Based on my grades, I got into that school. But there would be students with similar abilities to me that did not get into Glenmere High. And here is what they were doing: tests where you were just shading in bubbles, right? You're shading in bubble sheet.
Mm-hmm.
A for acceptable, B for better, C for can't do it, and D for I don't even know what is happening.
Mm.
You would see students who are lost in the system, students who would have been even more brilliant than myself, but they ended up with the schools that were considered the failure schools. Not that our system calls it that, but parents would emphasize on the fact that some schools were brighter than others. And then these students would now go on to see that my mom and my dad were not pleased with my grades. They weren't pleased with the school that I was placed at. I'm a failure. And then they absorb and internalize this. And then some of them will say, I must prove to these people that I can do it. And they will strive for excellence at whatever school they are placed. And then there are others who are not as intrinsically motivated, who would now begin to think, I am good for nothing, I am worthless. What is the point of me even trying? And then these students would now be further divided into the ones who are trying and the ones who have given up. You understand?
Mm.
yes,
And at that
yes.
point in time, what usually happens to the ones that have given up, they turn to violence. They are the ones who are involved in all kinds of things at school. For instance, you will hear of videos going viral on social media of students doing all kinds of inappropriate things. And then you'll be like, oh my gosh, where are the parents? The parents are there, but they would have failed to motivate their children. They would have failed to tell these children that they are worth it, that a grade is not your end all be all. There have been students who, would have been so passionate about proving that they are smart and ended up not doing as well, that would even go the suicidal route, or even threaten to do that based on a grade. And then now we have the PEP system, which is the primary exit profile, which tests students on different categories. It's not just random bubbles anymore. They have these students submit a profile of different projects that they would have been given from grade 4 right back to grade 6. This now allows the students to be tested on their abilities rather than how much they can recall. So I see where there has been improvement in education in that area of the Jamaican society.
Okay, that was wonderful. That was wonderful.
Thank you very much, Mrs.
That was wonderful.
Mary. Thank you very, very much. In case if you're joining us for the first time, we are live on the topic JamNija, of course. Today, we also have to bring to you the introductory part of this wonderful episode, JamNija, where we dive into the vibrant world of Jamaican culture, exploring, of course, the unique norms and the deeply rooted beliefs that shape the island's identity. All right, here with us is Barrister Bright Uche, and we sincerely say thank you very much for participating to this wonderful episode.
Thank you.
All right, my people, we are live here in March
Merge
FM. Please
FM.
don't dodge that dial. Remember that you can join us and follow us in every social media handles. on YouTube and Instagram. Here, right here with me is Mrs. Doberry. Thank you very much for being and participating to this wonderful occasion.
No problem, no problem. There had to be a Jamaican for JamNija to be a thing, right?
Mhm. All right, my people, join us as we impact on family, language, spirituality, and of course, community as they come together to define what it means to become a typical Jamaican and how these cultural pillars have evolved over time. Stay tuned for more insightful conversation. So next week, the same time, the same radio station, March FM, on the topic JamNija, and we'll be reaching out to our friends outside Jamaica, using Nigeria as a case study, as a point to reach out every other African country. And next week we'll be looking at person, right?
Yeah, because we need to put clothes on our argument more a while, right?
Mhm. And of course, relationship wise.
Okay.
And we talked about food today, and we also will be highlighting more on food and, of course, parenting.
I'm looking forward to that conversation. I hope our audience is looking forward to that conversation as well.
My great people, there's a lot to learn on this JamNija. Please continue to follow us, continue to send in your take. Remember that you can also share and participate fully by joining Marge FM.
Remember, don't touch that dial.
Mm.
Next week.
All right, my people watching via YouTube on Bless Be World, we want to officially welcome you to this wonderful channel. Very soon we'll be unleashing true videos, things happening in Jamaica. Please stay tuned. All right. Continue to follow this channel. Continue to subscribe. Continue to send in your take. I know it has been a while that we visited this wonderful channel on Blessed Be World, and we are looking forward that you participate fully by sending your take. Please share. Make sure you subscribe. Mrs. Doberry,
Yes.
I see you're wearing the last today and looking so insightful.
Oh, thank
And I see you never smile ever since we started the program.
you. Because I thought we were off. We're on air. We're still on air. Turn it off.
All right, thank you for joining us.